They thought the old man was weak, until the most feared gang leader in prison found out who he really was. Everyone in Cell Block C knew one rule: never cross Reaper. He wasn't just a gang leader, he was the law inside those concrete walls. Tattoos crawled up his neck, his cold stare could freeze a man in his tracks, and his fists had written too many stories in blood. No one challenged him. Not the guards, not the other inmates. Until one morning, a quiet, gray-haired man walked through the gates. His name was Daniel Reeves. He didn't look like much. 60 years old, slim build, calm eyes that seemed out of place in a cage full of wolves. Reaper smirked the moment he saw him. "Well, look what we got here, Grandpa. Lost your nursing home?" Laughter filled the yard, but Daniel didn't flinch. He just bowed his head slightly and kept walking. No one understood why the old man wasn't scared. But what Reaper didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Daniel Reeves once taught kung fu to soldiers, and his story was far from over. Daniel had never been inside a prison before. His crime? Defending a stranger at a bar one night when a drunk man pulled a knife on a woman. Daniel disarmed him, but the man fell, hit his head, and died. The court called it manslaughter. Daniel called it fate. Inside the prison, chaos was normal. Fights, shouting, the clanging of metal doors. But Daniel was different. Every morning, before sunrise, he sat cross-legged on his bunk, eyes closed, breathing slow and steady. While others cursed and fought, he meditated. When others shouted, he stayed silent. He ate little, spoke less, but when he moved, there was grace, precision, and something deeper: control. The younger inmates whispered about him. "Who's the old man in D-Block? Looks like he used to be a monk or something." Reaper's gang didn't find him interesting. They found him amusing. "Man's gonna crack in a week," one laughed. Reaper grinned. "If he lasts that long." Reaper liked to test new inmates. It was his way of reminding everyone who ran the yard. Day one, he had one of his men take Daniel's lunch tray. Daniel simply nodded and walked away. Day two, they pushed him in the chow line. He just smiled faintly and stepped aside. By day three, even the guards noticed. "That old guy doesn't fight back. Guess he's broken already." But Daniel wasn't broken. He'd faced worse battles, both inside and out. Inmates began to whisper behind their hands. "Why's he taking it? Is he scared, or does he just not care?" Reaper decided to find out for himself. One hot afternoon, while the inmates were in the yard, Reaper and his crew cornered Daniel near the fence. The sun burned overhead, sweat glistened on the concrete, and the air grew thick with anticipation. "Hey, old man," Reaper growled, stepping forward. "You think you're better than us? Too good to fight?" Daniel looked up slowly. "I don't fight unless I have to." That answer, calm, even respectful, only made Reaper angrier. He shoved Daniel hard against the fence. "You'll fight when I say you fight." The yard went silent. Dozens of inmates stopped what they were doing. Everyone wanted to see how far this would go. Daniel's eyes met Reaper's, calm, clear, and unshaken. Then, in a low voice, he said, "You don't want to do this." That only fueled Reaper's fury. He swung first, a heavy punch meant to crush. But Daniel wasn't there. He moved like smoke, slipping to the side, guiding the punch past him. Reaper blinked, confused. He swung again, faster this time. Daniel caught his wrist, twisted gently, and Reaper's knees buckled. Before anyone could react, one of Reaper's men charged. Daniel stepped aside, used his attacker's momentum, and sent him flying into the dirt. Another lunged with a shiv. Daniel deflected, disarmed him with a precise movement, and kicked the blade far away. Each motion was fluid, fast, but controlled. No wasted energy, no anger, only focus. Within seconds, 3 men lay on the ground, groaning. Reaper stumbled back, breathing hard, disbelief in his eyes. The yard froze. Even the guards didn't move. Daniel didn't press forward. He simply straightened his back, clasped his hands behind him, and looked Reaper in the eye. "I told you," he said softly, "I don't fight unless I have to." Reaper's face twisted between rage and humiliation. He wanted to charge again, but something in Daniel's gaze stopped him. It wasn't fear he saw there. It was mastery, the kind of strength that comes from years of discipline, not violence. Daniel knelt beside one of the men he'd dropped, helped him up, and whispered, "Breathe slow. Don't resist pain. Learn from it." Then he turned to Reaper and said one line that echoed through the yard. "Strength isn't about how hard you hit. It's about how much control you have." And with that, he walked away. No one laughed. No one spoke. For the first time in years, Reaper, the untouchable king of Cell Block C, had been beaten, not by force, but by restraint. For days, the prison buzzed with rumors. Some said the old man was a government assassin. Others claimed he used to train special forces, but Daniel never corrected them. He just kept to his quiet routine, meditating, training, and helping those who asked. Reaper stayed away. Pride wounded, he spent most days alone, replaying that fight in his mind. Every punch, every dodge. He realized Daniel hadn't fought to win, he'd fought to protect. Weeks later, a fight broke out in the cafeteria between 2 rival gangs. Dishes shattered, fists flew, chaos erupted. Reaper saw one of his younger men, barely 18, about to be stabbed. Before he could move, Daniel appeared out of nowhere. In a blur, he grabbed the attacker's wrist, twisted, and neutralized him without throwing a single punch. Then he turned to the boy and said, "Violence isn't strength. Walking away is harder." That moment changed something in Reaper. That night, he found Daniel sitting in his cell, meditating as usual. Reaper stood there for a long time before speaking. "How'd you learn to do all that?" he asked quietly. Daniel opened his eyes. "By losing everything that made me angry." Reaper frowned. "You're saying anger makes you weak?" Daniel smiled faintly. "It makes you blind. Power without discipline destroys itself." For the first time, Reaper didn't have a comeback. He just nodded and left. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, things began to shift. Fewer fights broke out. More inmates started joining Daniel's early morning sessions, stretching, breathing, learning small self-defense techniques. They called him Sensei Dan. Even Reapers started showing up, always at the back, silent, arms crossed. At first, everyone thought he was there to mock, but he stayed and listened. One morning, Daniel asked the group, "What's the hardest fight you'll ever face?" Some said survival, others said enemies. Reaper, after a long pause, muttered, "Yourself." Daniel smiled faintly. "Exactly." From that day forward, Reaper wasn't the same man. He still carried his scars, his reputation, but there was something new in his eyes: respect. He stopped running the yard through fear. Instead, he kept order, broke up fights, even protected the weaker inmates. When a new batch of prisoners arrived months later, one of them tried to test Reaper, just like Reaper once did to Daniel. But instead of fighting, Reaper laughed and said, "Trust me, kid, you don't want to walk that path." Daniel's teachings had taken root. A year later, when Daniel's sentence was finally up, the entire block lined up to watch him leave. Reaper approached quietly. For a long moment, neither man spoke. Finally, Reaper said, "You changed this place, old man." Daniel chuckled softly. "No, you changed it. I just reminded you who you were before anger took over."